Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Thinking Caps. I'm Tim Glomb. I'm joined with my cohort, CMO at Cheetah Digital, Richard Jones. And today we have Darien Bates. Darien Bates is the head of data and guest experience at End Pizza. It's a great firm doing great things. Get ready to be inspired, but also you're probably going to get a little hungry later in this. So Darien, we appreciate you coming from the safety of your own home in the period of COVID and making the time for us. How are you today?
Doing well, sir. How are you doing?
I think we're doing well. Richard, how are you doing?
I am good, thank you, sir. Ready to go?
Yeah. Well, go ahead, because I've got a bunch of questions I have for Darien, but why don't you kick it off as usual?
Yeah, well, so Darien, please give us a quick overview of End Pizza. And if you could you touch on the sort of unique positioning in the restaurant space? Give us a little bit of information about what the brand is all about.
Sure. I think, on its surface, End Pizza, we were started in Washington, D.C., very much regional brand at this point. We're in Washington, the surrounding, we call it the DMV area, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, up to Baltimore, Philly, New York, and we have a location in Boston. So sort of up the Eastern Seaboard. We're now moving down a little bit into Virginia and realms further south. And so we're very much a craft-your-own pizza brand. Think of us like Chipotle for pizza is sort of our shorthand there in terms of, very much traditionally very much a walk-the-line pizza brand. You think about you walk in, you go down those stations, you pick your toppings. But I think that, that's the surface level what we're about. We're actually started by our founder, Michael Astoria, really started End Pizza with this idea of being more than just like pizza was the beginning of something. It's the beginning of a relationship. It brings people together. This idea of like, who doesn't love pizza? Because you can make it your own way. You can be very like your own kind of person, your own kind of toppings. Like pretty much anybody can find a pizza that suits their preferences. And it was really about kind of doing more than just food. It was about creating points of connection in culture and then very mission oriented. Very kind of cause-based, and that's kind of driven the brand really from its founding.
Do you know, we really shouldn't have arranged to shoot this just before lunch because just talking about pizza has got my stomach rumbling.
I've got their website up here too, and I'm looking at it going, oh man.
Oh yeah, no, we're all consumers of our brand. I'll be honest, like we're very happy with it. Like that's one of those things when I was invited to join. I think the first thing for me, coming from a long background and working in a number of different products, I have to believe in the product. And I was excited when I had actually found out about End Pizza years before, and I was like, I'm good on this one.
Cool. Well, let's talk because we're in a period. We're all coming from our own homes. We've been recording Thinking Caps here in my home and Richard's home. We're in COVID, and COVID's a hot topic, and everybody's. If you don't mind, I'd love to understand what COVID has meant to you. Like, how are you dealing with it? And you and I got a chance to talk a little earlier about it. Actually, accelerated some things for you in a very interesting way. And this story is amazing. So, if you don't mind, if you'd share. What did COVID kick off? And tell us a little bit about your integration.
Oh, man. Yeah, I feel like I need like a tattoo of like COVID on me somewhere too. So I can have an outward manifestation of what it's done to us internally. So in my role at End Pizza, I oversee the entire kind of technology footprint for the brand. And, as I mentioned earlier, like End Pizza started off very much as a walk the line brand. Like when you think about pizza, like pizza's really had this position in a lot of people's lives as kind of a delivery thing, right? But we actually started off as very much you walk in, you look at the toppings, you pick your toppings, and really even, we've been planning on this idea of moving much more towards like a full digital footprint. We have a digital platform we spend a lot of time with. We're an app that we spend a lot of time with, but there was a roadmap that was like 6 to 12 months to really push heavily into like orienting a much higher percentage of our sales through digital. But up until COVID, we were running at about 60 to 65% of our sales were still walk the line sales. There were still people walking into the shop, placing a pizza. In 3 days, we switched to 100% digital sales, which was massive. To say, like, all the plans that we had kind of that was 6 to 12 months kind of timelines, a gradual ramp up. It just like it switched overnight, and it was we had some sleepless nights for a little bit on the tech team as we were kind of doing some major overhauls. One of the things I've talked about is to some of the members of our team is the idea that technology really is a little bit like a magic trick. The idea that like you do a lot of setup ahead of time and no one's really paying attention to when you set it up. But then like when they show up in a situation, you suddenly are like, look at how fancy that is. Look at how like it looks so effortless. We were not able to do. I mean, I think the planning was well in process, but the idea of whipping out the magic trick about looking how seamless all of this is, we definitely felt it, but it really expedited everything. It really did turn like a 6 to 12 month transition into like, no kidding aside, like a 48-hour transition into a full digital experience, which had some downstream ramifications, which we can talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how quickly digital acceleration has been forced on people of all different industries. 3 days, that must give you nightmares.
It is, and actually during that time, just through sheer dumb, I wouldn't even call it dumb luck, dumb bad luck in some ways, that we were also turning over our entire menu during that same time. So we were launching a completely new menu while we were also transitioning to an entire digital interface. And unfortunately, with the menu change, which meant like new product, new ingredients, like the whole production line is like, you can't just put like a pause on it. We're like, we don't have some of those ingredients anymore. We have these other ones that are shipping in. And so normally that's a very careful role that you try to isolate. You kind of lock everything else down and just change the menu. And instead, like everything was changing at the same time, kind of in full view. So yeah, it definitely created a lot of energy on our side.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And like, if you go to your website today, you've got the ability, obviously, to do the online ordering for yourself, for your pizza, but you've also got your Hero Pies program where you can gift pies to healthcare workers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that was huge for us. And honestly, this is one of those places where when we talk a little bit about, and I'd love to talk a little bit about kind of where, some of our integration partners and some of our technology partners have really come in. One of the things that our CEO leaned into right off the bat was this idea of, rather than kind of like ducking and covering during this big moment, it was really kind of going the opposite way. Like, how do you really stand kind of front and center and kind of do the right thing when everything's shifting? And within like, I think it was the next day after we kind of got this full like lockdown orders and all this stuff that was coming out, like our CEO just stepped forward and was like, we're actually going to add $1 an hour to every single member of our team staff. We had already had like a Lyft benefit, which was we had partnered with Lyft that any of our tribe members who worked late, because some of our shops are open as much as 4 a.m. On weekends, they could get subsidized Lyft rides home, so they didn't have to like try to figure out transportation. We then we pushed that benefit fleet wide so that people didn't have to ride public transportation home. They could like at any hour of the day going from a shop to home. So there was this big push there, but then there was also this big push to start giving away pizzas to hospital staff during this time. It was something that we had done actually previously about 18 months ago when we were giving away free pizzas to government workers who were furloughed in DC during the government shutdown. So it was something we had done previously. But it exploded onto the scene. So we ended up giving away, in the first day that we did it, we ended up giving away close to 6,000 pizzas, free pizzas, the first day doing it, which if you recall, we were also turning over a menu that same day. So in terms of, we really just stepped on ourselves a little bit, but it did create this incredible energy where it was just, everyone became aware of it and people wanted to donate. And so we actually were able to turn over our digital platform a bit, and we were actually able to add both on our website that you could give, but also actually even in our app and in our ordering flow, you could actually also purchase a Hero Pie, which would be the funding for that would go right to basically purchasing pies for hospital staff. And so far, we've given away over 40,000 pizzas through a combination of people purchasing a hero pie. So every morning we give away 1,000 a day, where people can submit requests to get a code to just be able to purchase anywhere. And then we also do bulk drops, sometimes using our trucks, which we send our trucks out, and sometimes doing just like bulk drops from our shops to hospitals. So we do 50, 100 pies taken over to a number of hospitals around which our shops are located.
Wow. So let me recap here. You get COVID hits, you get it locked down from government, mandate. And then within 3 days, you're back up and running better than ever. 6,000 pies out there. You're rebooting a menu. You just went from 65% walk-in to 0%, 100% digital. There's got to be some awesome partners behind that to make all that happen, right? Like you said, best laid plans, 12-month rollout for digitalization, transformation, and now it happens in 3 days. Not that you need to pat us on the back. Obviously, we do business together with Cheetah Digital, but can you explain, some of the intricacies and the hurdles and challenges and who's powering them and what solutions do they provide?
Absolutely. And the only correction I'll do on this is that we actually never stopped operating during any of this. Like, I think we actually, we rolled right on through, which is one of the interesting things. And I think a salient point is that in this kind of business, there's no stop times. Like, we don't get weekends where we can like boot new software. Our rollout times are generally like Tuesday morning for any big like code changes or anything. Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. is usually the time that we'll push new code live. And so like there's never a time it stops. So what we're actually looking for is we're looking for a combination of like real flexibility, real adaptability, and real precision. Like, precision is so important because like I actually come from the B2B space earlier in my career, and you actually realize how much give you have in the B2B space in certain areas. There's a lot of actually a lot more sophistication in other parts of B2B, but in certain areas, when I picture like B2C as being like standing in front of like a freight train. Like, from far away, freight trains don't look like they're moving that fast. When you're standing in front of them, they will roll right over you. Yes. And when you have like 10,000 orders a day rolling right through you, like any glitches, any problems, like you start feeling like immediately watching scale come at you on like our text line or any of these other ways in which we see customers. Like, it is a sight to behold. So I think for us, when we looked at our partner base, even when we were selecting our partner base, we were really prioritizing those aspects, kind of, precision, agility, adaptability, and really creativity, and the ability for us to kind of come up with new ideas and to find ways of executing them. And definitely deserves a shout out. Sparkfly, the team that actually manages our offer, and I believe a close partner of yours. They manage like all our offers. So like using like the hero pie, just giving out free pizzas. Like, when we were giving away free pizzas for the government shutdown 18 months ago, we hadn't instituted Sparkfly yet. And we had ways in which it was like the manual version of doing that was so painful. In some ways it was the Lord's work, I'm sure, but it was, it definitely took it out of us. This time, what we were able to do is we were able to get like flexible code set up with Sparkfly. They were able to basically kick out like a 1-day use code every day. We had this, we're able to kind of dynamically vary those to every single person when we kick out the codes to kind of everybody who submits each day. And what that does is that gives us the ability to essentially seamlessly send out like a fixed number of codes every day. They expire in 1 day. They're variable to one person. And it means that like the rollout of kind of this big giveaway actually becomes something that is just like, it's very quotidian. It's a very seamless experience. It doesn't interrupt any processes. It doesn't kind of blow up any sort of like ordering flow. Shops are pretty, other than giving away those 6,000 pies in the first day, which shops definitely felt. But going forward, we give away 1,000 a day, and it just kind of goes. And I think that there's a chart I'll share on this, but you'll see this incredible step up of you get like 6,000 pies in 1 day, and then you have this beautiful, beautiful like gradual ramp up of like every day it's about 1,000 pies every day that just kind of goes out, and it works like clockwork. And it's a way in which while it is a financial commitment we're making, and it is obviously every shops are giving away pies every day, it doesn't take it out of the team to be able to continue to manage this process. And like the work that Sparkfly did with us in that moment, like again, like if you think about that 48-hour turnaround, and they just like came in and we figured out different ways of executing it. We tried a couple different things. Some things worked really well, but then became like a real hurdle in other areas. And we settled on this process within a few days, and it just made all the difference in terms of being able to continue this. Like there was a period there when we were like, can we do this longer than a week? And we've now been doing it for 9 weeks and counting. And it's really been, it's been real special to have that kind of partnership. And why, when we were looking at rebuilding our loyalty program to extend this kind of adaptability even further, like the first recommendation was we've got to work with Cheetah, because that was like the ability to kind of seamlessly extend that piece into loyalty to also reflect a lot of these kind of brand pillars was really big for us.
That's actually an interesting kind of segue into some of the conversations we've been having with some of the guests on Thinking Caps over the last couple of weeks, and some of those series are going to be published in the next week or so. But one theme that we've got back from speaking to a bunch of kind of folks in chief customer officers and CMOs and folks in digital, etc., is actually in this COVID-19 period, as we start to sort of have restrictions easing, and people are now focusing from the immediate kind of reaction to the lockdown to planning about how do they accelerate the recovery. What we're hearing from a lot of folks is actually, well, loyalty has a really important part to play in that, because retaining and growing existing customers may well be cheaper than going and buying new customers through advertising, etc., in the foreseeable future. So, love to ask you, kind of, thinking with the lens of accelerated recovery, but also more in general, kind of what does a loyalty strategy look like for Ampita? How are you thinking about these things?
Yeah, it's a great question. For us, loyalty, there were two major things that we were looking for in loyalty, but I think that it starts with the idea, actually goes even to just like what my position is, right? Like, so I had a technology for Ampita, but like in my title, actually, like data is data is like the pillar of how we view our technology strategy. We don't keep a big engineering team on staff. We don't think of it as we don't think of ourselves as being a technology company, although technology is a major part of what we're doing. We think of it as being like an information company. We're really working heavily with guests to understand who they are. And it comes back to those brand pillars. Like we were saying, yes, of course we're about product, but we're also about culture and cultural connection and mission. And for us, it came down to how well can you relate to your guests using the data that you're collecting. And for us, loyalty we were so focused on finding a loyalty program that actually gave us both the ability to seamlessly collect and use data, but then also to be able to like personalize and create a loyalty structure that felt really unique and felt really like you could almost version, parts of your loyalty program even to like the specific attributes or the specific way in which different customers wanted to engage. So to think about it in terms of like people who've purchased hero pies for other people, right? Like for us, that's an essential data point for us in terms of someone being mission oriented, right? So if our loyalty program, if we both know that they're making those purchases and our loyalty program starts orienting some of the aspects of that mission orientation, like, looking at accruing points, not just about being able to, purchase the next pizza for less, but actually being able to donate points or being able to contribute, when you make a purchase, a portion of that purchase goes to a charity of your choice. Like these are all variables that we've been kicking around. And while we haven't finalized everything about our loyalty program yet, these are pieces of like building out what we think is like a different kind of relationship where loyalty becomes a part of putting kind of your money where your mouth is around that relationship, rather than just saying like, yeah, we're mission oriented. It's like, no, we're collaborating with you to contribute to these causes or to be involved with you in the ways that are relevant to you. and especially in pizza, like we are not under the we are not under the expectation that people are ordering pizza on a daily basis. You know, we're not Sweetgreen where people have like ordering salads 2 or 3 times a week for lunch. Pizza is a, you know, once every couple of weeks kind of a product.
What?
So,
Hold
Not
on a
my
second.
house.
yeah.
You're not talking. You're talking to the wrong guys. We're pizza.
Right. Well, you're one of our super users. But I mean, I think the idea of frequency is not always the key point for us around loyalty. It's certainly we'd like people to come to us rather than go to other pizza restaurants, but we're not expecting people to do pizza daily. What we do want is to be able to make sure that our communications and our relationship is relevant on a daily basis, so that we're not just kind of interrupting, that we're actually contributing.
Yeah. No, that's cool. You know, and earlier when we talked, there's another interesting and unique position that I think you take, which is your, you know, be there when they need you and be there where they need you kind of strategy. You know, you talked about 40,000 pies, you know, how are you seeing new people come in, new behaviors? You know, are you adding people through this program, and then are you able to be in the right place at the right time because you're learning more about these new people?
Yeah, it's a really key point. Like during this time, I think we didn't go into this with the idea of this being a huge acquisition play right away. That's kind of not where our heart was right away. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that during the federal government shutdown, we gave away, you know, tens of thousands of free pizzas and I don't think collected a single name. But let's just say that was not going to happen again. I was not here at the time of the federal government shutdown. So when we did stand this up, you know, we have actually seen essentially added almost 100,000. I think we were up at 85,000 new kind of new user profiles during the first 60 days of this. Wow. So the first 2 months of this, which for us is a big deal. I mean, I think that's for the size of a brand that we are with 38 locations, like that's a sizable number, and that's really we're orienting so much of our growth around that idea of building those relationships. I mean, that's been a KPI for me prior to this. Like we were looking to grow to a million user base by the end of 2020. And this has been that was kind of a key target for us. The idea that just through this program that was really oriented around giving, we also kind of brought in, again, close to 100,000 new users. And we'll be well over 100,000 new users by the time kind of the program wraps up, when, God willing, whenever that is. Yeah. And that for us is like this additional value where we know we're building relationship. We know from the government shutdown, we built relationship. People still kind of text in and say, you guys are the best. Like I remember when I did we were furloughed and we had no income. And like, this was like how we would get like a meal. We would be able to go out. And so I think for us, we know that we're building a relationship, but then putting that data behind it where you can also both track it and re-engage around that key relationship point that you now know exists in your data. You're like, we gave a free pizza to them, right? Or maybe 10 free pizzas to them in some cases. And that's I think a key point of engagement, in the same way that somebody buying free pizzas for somebody else is similarly like a key point of engagement that we look at from that starting point where you have a seminal moment where you're like, got it. So that's how this started. That's what the source was. That sets a foundation for this.
That's really interesting because it's interesting because we talk about known and unknown. And I think what you're saying is like another middle layer of like, hey, this is a consumer. They may have made a donation to help someone else. Maybe they're not a customer yet, but we say from known to unknown to known contact. But really, you're going from like consumer to customer and then loyalty and advocacy along the way. Sorry, Richard, not to step on you, but I want to make myself feel good about that thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I know that we're coming up to the end of the time here. And Darien, I have to say, you've been a fantastic guest. Love the energy and love the clarity of the answers around some of these issues. Will you do us a favor and come back in a few months and tell us how it's going as with lockdowns ease and you start to kind of accelerate out of recovery?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do so. I'm also will be really excited, knock on wood, to also talk a little bit about the official launch of our loyalty program, the revised new loyalty program with all the bells and whistles. So yeah, no, I'd be happy to do it. And yeah, here's hoping that at least some of the aspects of return to normal. Although again, I think in this kind of transitionary space, there's always, I would love to be able to keep more than right now, given that like our visitors are close to 60% known now, and then there's like third parties who we don't know. I'd love to be able to keep that ratio going in terms of the number of known users. So,
Right.
So here's hoping that holds at least.
Well, we are here definitely to help you achieve that goal. So, thank you for your partnership and your being a great customer. And we love to have you back in the next few months.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody watching, you can go to endpizza.com. We'll have that on the screen here. You can actually give away Hero Pies right now. You can donate. You can get in the mix, even if you don't have a location next to you. And also, we have a great podcast with Catherine Tabor, the CEO of Sparkfly. So if you want to learn more about the Sparkfly and how they integrate into different CDPs and do offer management at scale, we have that as well. So Darien, again, thank you. Thanks for making the time. You guys be safe, wash your hands, and eat pizza.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.